Hi, my name is Caer Weber, and I've been volunteering with MDA BC for 5 years now. I've also suffered with mental illness for a long time. Today I want to talk about self-compassion, about how to practice it. I've been practicing it myself in the past year and have found it to be absolutely amazing and really helpful. It's really helped me calm down, and it's helped me accept who I am and accept my life situations. So what I will talk about today is what self-compassion is, why it's good for us, and how we can have it. First of all, what is compassion? Compassion is two things. It's acknowledging that there is suffering going on, and second of all, it's about lessening that suffering, whether it's through providing comfort or support or some kind of change to the life situation. So it follows that self-compassion itself is paying attention to our own suffering and also finding ways to lessen that suffering, whether it's comforting ourselves or changing the situation. One of the really important things about self-compassion is not to blame ourselves for who we are. We were raised by certain people, we have certain genes, we lived in a certain environment, and we had no control over those things as we grew up. So we are not to blame for who we are right now. I'd like to talk about why self-compassion is so helpful, and I have a number of reasons. First of all, self-criticism is the opposite of self-compassion, and self-criticism is not helpful. It used to be that parents believed that to motivate our children, we had to criticize them and tell them that they were doing wrong. But research has shown that this makes people feel depressed and anxious, inadequate, and feel low self-worth in the world. Self-compassion is exactly the opposite. Number two, self-compassion is all about supporting yourself and accepting who you are at all times. You are never shamed for who you are, for what you've done, or what you haven't done. Third, self-compassion can help you be more emotionally resilient in life. You can go with the flow a little more, and that allows you to have more choices in your life as you are able to step back from life situations and make the choices that are best for you. Number four, self-compassion is much more motivating than criticism. If you think of a little child and you encourage that child to be all that they can be, they tend to move forward and do the things that they love doing, and they're much happier. Number five, self-compassion helps us forgive ourselves. Again, we tend to blame ourselves for who we are, and self-compassion helps us forgive ourselves for who we are, because we are not to blame for who we are. We all make mistakes. We all have goals that we have not met, and many of us feel like we're a failure at times. Self-compassion helps us overcome those things. And finally, when we have compassion for ourselves, then we have compassion for other people. So how do we have self-compassion? Well, there's been a number of people who have formulated a great little model, and it comprises of three things. First of all, self-kindness. Second of all, a perspective of common humanity. And third, mindfulness. Let's talk first about self-kindness. There are two things we can do, really, to be more kind to ourselves. First of all is the way we talk to ourselves in our mind. Again, if we've got a self-critic in there, then we're not being kind to ourselves. That self-critic tends to think we're a loser and label us as a failure. So instead of saying, "You are such a loser, a screw-up, a failure," we need to change that to, "I want to help. I want you to be happy in your life. I want you not to suffer." Besides the self-talk we can also perform acts of kindness for ourselves. Many of us may be used to being kind to other people and doing things for other people, but we also need to learn to do things for ourselves. The simple act of a cup of tea for ourselves is an act of kindness. Resting and playing is another act of kindness. Rewarding ourselves for hard work and understanding that we've had a really hard time doing something And that, yeah, it's time to reward ourselves. Say, take a day off and stay in your pajamas all day. Don't answer the phone. That's a reward for working really hard. And we can comfort ourselves with words of comfort when we are in pain, when we're feeling sad or depressed or even angry. And finally, we can do gestures as well. Putting our hand on our heart sometimes feels like a connection with compassion, often for somebody else, but even for ourselves. Or putting a hand on our cheek, or even hugging ourselves. You might want to do that when you're alone, when nobody sees you, but that's fine. Try it sometime. It feels good. The second component of the self-compassion model is all about a certain perspective. We need to remember that we are all human beings in this world, and all of us suffer at times. We also, most of us, feel inadequate at times in our life, and we need to remember that. It's important to remember that we're not alone in the world, even though our life situation may be very unique, and who we are is very unique. No one else in the world is like us. Still, we are human and we feel human emotions just like billions of people around the world do. So remember, you can tell yourself, I'm having a human experience, particularly when you're in pain. Remember that this is a human experience. And remember also to see if you can connect with somebody else, whether you go to an MDA group, a support group, and talk with people who have similar issues, or you talk to a friend or family member, somebody you feel comfortable with. When we're drowning in our own pain and our own suffering, it really helps to connect with others. We don't feel quite so alone, and our pain is greatly reduced. The third and final component of the self-compassion model is all about mindfulness. So what do I mean by mindfulness? Simply, it means paying attention to what's going on right now and accepting and allowing it to go on. So I may pay attention to myself and how I'm feeling, or I may pay attention as I'm walking down the street to what's happening around me. Observing and understanding my own mind and who I am, what I need in the world to take care of me, can really be helpful. There are different ways to be mindful. Besides meditation, any moment of the day we can take a moment and stop and just focus on our breath. We don't need to change how we're breathing, but just notice how we breathe in and breathe out. Or we can focus on how we're feeling. How am I feeling right now? And maybe even ask, why am I feeling this? Maybe I'm feeling sad, and allowing that sadness. We can also focus on the things we're thinking about. What am I worrying about? What am I ruminating on? Any of those kinds of thoughts. Or we can focus on physical sensations. Am I hot or cold? Am I comfortable? Am I tired? Any of those things we can focus on, and that helps us to be mindful. One of the things I want to bring up is about something called cognitive distortions. And this is something where our mind creates certain facts and we believe them to be facts and to be the truth, but they're not the truth. Maybe I think that I'm a loser, and then I begin to think, well, everyone around me thinks I'm a loser. But if I were to go up to somebody and say, do you think I'm a loser? They'd probably say, no, Caer, you're not a loser. So why do I think I'm a loser? Because my mind is telling me that I'm a loser, and maybe I'm believing it. And we need to watch out for that. So I just want to summarize everything that I've told you. So compassion and self-compassion is about two things: acknowledging that you are suffering, or that I am suffering, and to lessen that suffering through offering comfort or making a change. And how do we do that? Through changing our self-talk, making it more compassionate, through kind acts, through keeping a perspective that I'm not the only one who experiences this, and through being mindful by observing what's going on around us, observing ourselves, and accepting and allowing what is happening. Most important of all is about forgiving yourself, forgiving ourselves for all the things we've done or the things we haven't done, and connecting with other people so that we don't feel so alone. I hope you find a way to be more compassionate to yourself. Thank you.